All right, everyone, if I can have your attention, please. We're about to get started. Awesome, everyone. This is really fantastic. I love seeing so many faces in the room this semester. Thank you all so much for being here. My name's Steve Russell. I am the program manager. It's more than just a single project, right? We're a bunch of projects. It's Project Cities. So I'm the program manager for Project Cities. And I kind of manage the day-to-day stuff. Project Cities, this is the 4th biannual end of semester student showcase. Welcome. Project Cities Showcase is an opportunity for us to celebrate and acknowledge the hard work that our students, faculty, and city staff have put in this semester. It's an opportunity for us to get a good idea of what they've been working on, see what the research recommendations and findings that they came up with. And we're really, we've been reviewing the students' work for the last few weeks here, and we're really excited with everything we've seen so far and very much looking forward to sharing that with you. So please keep in mind that our students have a range of experience levels, and this program is designed to be a safe learning environment, right? So the solutions and recommendations that our students propose here today, they should be viewed as a step in the right direction, and an opportunity to gather some of the background research that you need to advance initiatives. Project Cities is a chance for our students to learn new professional skills, put them to use in a mutually beneficial win-win-win environment, and a partnership curated by ASU Project Cities and overseen by our expert faculty members. The Project Cities program has 3 main goals, and they are to enrich the student learning experience with real-world projects and an opportunity to develop professional skills in a client-based learning environment, to build capacity at local governments by leveraging assets at the university to help address challenging sustainability issues, and to improve quality of life for residents in communities by providing research-backed recommendations, ideas, and best practices to the city. And can you hit next slide for me? And go to the social media slide. Next, thank you. All right, so I'm going to start off with some housekeeping. Go back one. Nailed it. All right, so housekeeping. First of all, I want to say hello, Zoom. How's everyone doing? For folks who are joining us virtually today, please keep your line muted unless you have questions during the Q&A session, in which case there's a little microphone icon in the bottom left corner, I believe, of your screen. I definitely recommend those of you who are joining virtually to check your speaker and mic. There's test options that should have popped up actually when you first joined. If you have any audio problems, keep in mind you can dial into Zoom as well. And you can use the chat box on the side if you have any specific questions that are not being addressed. For everyone here in the room, just so you know, this is being recorded. So we're going to record it and share the information out at a later date. So for those of you who are here in the room, I want to encourage you to please stand if you're able and project when you're speaking in the room, just so we can make sure that the microphone does pick you up, especially for those of you who are kind of towards the back. Now help yourself to the food and beverages. That is all for us. I encourage, being mindful of the noise the door makes. If you're coming and going, maybe try and keep it to transitions between presenters, but help yourself by all means. We have an expanded footprint this year. So we are also using room 401, which is the room just directly across from the reception desk, where we'll be keeping additional posters, and it's also a spillover space. We'll be webcasting in there as well. If you have a conversation that you want to take out of the room, that's a good place to do it. So we are shooting for an ASU Green Events certification for this event. It'll be our first, the goal is at least silver this time. So on that note, I want to point out our waste streams. We have 3 waste streams here today. We have compost in the green bins, recycle in the blue, and landfill in the grayish sort of ones. To clarify, our compost is industrial compost, so really anything that's an organic material can go in there, including meats, dairy, and of course the paper plates. The cups are compostable as well. The one thing that's not intuitive is, unfortunately, we cannot recycle or compost the forks. So if you grab one of those from the table, that'll go in the landfill. And of course, if you have any questions, you can grab any of us, reference the signs over the sign or over the bins, or ask at the front desk. Restrooms they're a bit of a journey. You're going to go through the kitchen to the right. Ladies, your restroom will come up on the right immediately. Gentlemen, keep going. Take another right. Go this way. They'll come up on your right as well. Now, everyone, I believe we probably got most of you at the door. If you have not checked in, please do so. We have a clipboard outside, and please make sure that you're signing that model release form. We like to keep good records of who's attending our events, and that's very important for us. Now, we are guinea pigs for a brand new parking validation system, so that's exciting. We are transitioning over to a computer-based parking validation system, so you can get your parking validated at the front desk. Additionally, if you don't have your ticket with you and you do have a smartphone, they can push a QR code onto your smartphone that you can use to get out of the lot. But they'll be able to help you out at the front desk. Just ask for Melissa. And Krista, who's there now, doesn't necessarily know the system, so wait for Melissa to get back. Now we have some swag and our past reports just outside the door to the left here. I encourage you to check out our student reports. They're another great way to kind of see some of the past work that we've done. You'll see 3 projects presented here today, but we have another 10 out there on the bench. So you can check that out. We have evaluations are on the way. That was a small hiccup. We did not print those already. So I will be passing those out. For those of you who are in the hot seat today, or folks who are visiting from Glendale and Apache Junction, we're going to hand you a packet that's going to have a space to provide comments for all of the presentations. For everyone else, we'd love to get your feedback on the event in general. And we have an evaluation sheet that'll be outside on that same table as well. Please make sure that you grab one of those and tell us what you thought of the event when you take off today. Is that a question? No? Cool. All right, there are also notepads on this table over here. I encourage you to grab one. If you have questions that come up to you during the presentations, that's a good way to kind of jot it down so you don't lose it. We're gonna have a Q&A session after each of the presenters speaks. However, that's a good space for questions that are more general and broad and kind of apply to everyone here in the room. Now, if you have questions that really kind of drill into some specific area of something they presented, we're going to do a poster session at the end of the event, and I'd encourage you to take those questions there, if that makes sense. Last thing, since we are in 2 rooms today, I just want to briefly touch on hallway etiquette. Please keep in mind that we have several offices here in the building surrounding us and to the right. And we just want to be respectful of them, so try and keep conversation down. If you do have conversations, I'd encourage taking them into room 401. That's kind of more of our cocktail loungy sort of area. Sorry, no cocktails, but you get the idea. Last thing I want to mention, sorry, 2 things that I have left to mention. The first is social media. Please follow us, tweet at us, Facebook us, tag us. We're using hashtag Project Cities. Also, we will be doing a few video vignette interviews. So Urvashi and Jackson in the back will be grabbing some of you to ask just a couple questions that we'll be later stitching together for kind of a recap of the event here. You're welcome to grab one of them. We're not necessarily going to grab every single one of you, but if you have some thoughts, please do share them. Okay, so the last thing I'd like to do is a brief group activity. Can I get everyone to please take out your phones? Now, on some phones, there's this little switch on the side here. Others, you need to click a couple buttons, but let's all find that vibrate button or the silent button and just make sure that we're not interrupting any of the presentations today. So, thank yous are coming, but first, I'd like to invite the following people to stand so we can recognize their work. Can I get all of the project leads to stand? So that's Monica, Amanda, Larry, Michelle. Yeah, Amanda, and just, yeah, do this. Can we give these folks a round of applause? They really, these are the people who directly worked with our students to make sure that they have access to the information they need to deliver successful projects. Next, I'd like our faculty to please stand. We have Al Brown, Nathan Parker, Deborah Salon, and Megan Ellens, who unfortunately could not join us, but let's give them a round of applause. Obviously, been working directly with the students to ensure that we deliver the highest quality products that we can at the end of the semester. And last but of course not least, can we please get all of the students in the room to stand up? You are the ones that we're celebrating here today. I'm so proud of the work that you've done. It's really excellent and a real treat to have you here with us today. The last I'd like to recognize real quickly is Amanda and Larry. So the two of you are, you're project leads for multiple projects, both of you. They've also been the direct community liaisons, helping us to kind of manage things, get things moving through the city, get in contact with the right people. And they've really worn both hats and been a very critical role in building the relationships between ASU, Glendale, and Apache Junction. So I'd like to give them a round of applause because. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ann Richmond, the director of the Sustainable Cities Network, which is the umbrella program that Project Cities falls under.
So wait here. So before we start, I know that Steve's put in a lot of effort in planning on the event and working with the communities and the students. So I want to take a moment to recognize all of your hard work. This is a full-time job plus, and also his student assistants, which include Lexi, Kiana, Irashi, we have Jackson. So if you could please give him a round of applause for all of his hard work. I have been more of a bystander this time as opposed to an organizer, and it's so wonderful. He's done a fantastic job. So I just want to make sure you know that your work is appreciated. So wonderful. So thank you so much for coming. We have a lot to cover today. So I just want to extend my thanks to the students, the faculty, the cities for taking the time to participate. I'm very excited to hear what research has come out of this. This is our 4th semester in working on Project Cities and our second program cycle with the city of Glendale, and then also extended project with the city of Apache Junction. So we want to thank you, all of you, for your commitment to working with the students and also providing such great projects for Project Cities to work on. So it's very exciting. With that said, I'd like to welcome the city of Glendale at this point in time and recognize some of our staff and community attendees. I have on my list here Council Member Raymond Molnar. So not here yet? Okay, all right. Well, we'll recognize him when he comes. Assistant City Manager, Chris Anaradian. Did I say that? You can stand up if you'd like. We have Interim City Manager Rob Sweeney. Still on his way. Okay, all right. Director of Field Operations, Michelle Wojtenko. Yes. And we did recognize previously Amanda McKeever and Monica Rabb, which always great to see you. And did I miss anybody else? Bart Turner. So can you introduce yourself?
Oh, just City Council Member Bart
Turner. Thank you for coming. Well, that's my bad. So no thank you very much. It's good to know that the council is well represented for this particular event. And so with that, I would like to turn it over to Chris to say a few words about your participation.
Thank you, Stephen. And I know you want to hear from the students, not the bureaucrats. But thank you so much for everybody's time and energy in this partnership. This is my second opportunity to be here now in our second semester of involvement. When Dr. Crow came to ASU, I think almost 15 years ago, I remember reading his manifesto on the New American University. And I just wanted to say to the students, you're very fortunate to be here at one of the most innovative public universities in America. And I know you're very proud of that, that recognition that you've received the last couple of years. But as a practitioner, as a professional bureaucrat who wakes up every day trying to help people improve their lives, it's so great to see over the last 15 years, not just in the Julianne School of Wrigley School of Sustainability, but I have some interaction with the real estate program here and your design institute. In every college in this university, all of you, year after year, the faculty and the staff really are realizing that call-in for ASU to be a true partner in the communities that it serves and to really elevate for all of Arizona the level of opportunity we all have. Our mission is to improve the lives of the people we serve every day. And your stated mission is out there on a piece of stone. I saw it again on the way in, and part of it says you're defined by, as an institution, you're defined by who you include and not who you exclude. And that alignment of purpose has the potential to really affect the quality of life of Arizonans. And I see the posters, I'm looking forward to reading them around the wall. One of the things we have in common as bureaucrats is we get to drive around our community or walk or bike around our community. And over time, we can point to something. And we could tell somebody, you know, I did that. I do that with my children. I started up in the building trades. When I see a building or a structure, I tell my kids all rolled out the window, you know, Daddy worked on that. All of you at some point will be in the city of Glendale, I hope again, 10, 15 years from now. And you'll be able to say, I remember working on that. Your work has a direct impact on our ability to perform at the direction of our city council elected officials and take their vision and make it a reality. Our daily life does not allow for this. We don't have the luxury of doing these deep dives. We can throw money at it. But it's even better when we can work with people who are inspired, who can take the time to really help us ferret out the economics, the practicality, management systems, things that we can put into place, again, for that shared mission of improving the lives of other people. So again, thank you for what you've done. And thank you to our team and Councilmember Turner, if you wanted to say anything as well on behalf of the community. He reminded me we're a 125-year-old community of 250,000 people. What I see, and I'm relatively new to the organization, is I see three cities. The 125-year-old city, the relatively new city we've been building, you know, since the advent of air conditioning, and the city that's yet to be. We have a great expanse in part of our community that's undeveloped farmland and 2 freeways. So all of these ideas are help us to sustain the old city, the new city, and the city that's yet to be. So thank you for that.
Well, clearly the speech I was going to give got sent to Chris. Because that's everything I would have said had I been first. So but thank you, Chris. I come to this because it's fun and it's exciting and I always learn something, and in my job that's really important, but also just in our lives, you know. And just as you all know, education isn't about your first job, your next job, or your last job. It's about how well you live your whole life. And the jobs are just a means of giving you the money to make that happen. So enjoy the project for the good that it is, not just for the grade that you get. So thanks a lot.
Oh, and Project Cities, that's the crux of what we do, is that use-inspired research. So what's on the charter outside is definitely what we try to emulate through our program. So we feel it's a perfect fit for ASU. So wonderful. I would also like at this time to introduce our participants with the City of Apache Junction. Apache Junction was our inaugural city partner in 2017-2018. And we fondly refer to them as our guinea pigs for the program. So they helped us kind of work through some of the different, some of the different challenges associated with implementation. And so we greatly appreciate that. And we've had the good fortune to be able to continue with one of the projects for this year from last year. And we introduced Larry and Heather Patel, who is the grants administrator, and then also Bryant Powell, who's the city manager. So Bryant, do you want to say a few words on behalf of Apache Junction?
Thank you. Thank you for having us. So great to be on campus. Brings a ton of energy to us. We thank you for the 2 projects that we've already had. And now as we enter this next season, we're going to be in the process from the last project that really, as Chris talked about, really presents an opportunity for our community to talk more about it. And we're getting closer and closer. If you're familiar with residential trash service and the way we're looking at that residential trash process and RFQ is now in public. And we're going to be moving forward towards having an RFP for that. It's a big step for us. The other one is a dog park. Apache Junction doesn't have an off-leash dog park. We have lots of area for dogs to run around in, which is nice, but our community is ready to have a dog park. And so we've been working on trying to get that in those 2 2 of the 4 are way, way further along than we've ever been. And then today we're here to learn a little bit about, in our community, the great opportunity we have is we have 119 mobile home parks. Not just mobile homes, 119 mobile home parks, areas where we have infrastructure, great little places for what I call beautiful, affordable, consistent housing that can be great. But some of them have had the test of time. And some of them are being asked about, okay, what's next? And so we need some thought. We need to be thinking about how we transition those. And there are some great challenges, but there's also some great opportunities. And I've already had a chance to review the draft. I'm really excited about looking into that some more. And I express my great gratitude to Arizona State University and for that opportunity to have some real look and inspiration on how we might move forward and as we communicate with our community how to do that. So thank you again, and thank you for having us.
Thank you. And I guess the beauty of actually being able to work with 2 partners, one on a continuing basis and a new one, is the fact that I guess what we find through the student research, just so you know, this information is for a particular community, but the benefit through the Sustainable Cities Network is we get to be able to share this with other communities throughout the state. So what you're providing isn't just helpful to Glendale or Apache Junction. The other communities in the valley and around Arizona can take advantage of this information. So your impact is actually probably much broader than you realize. So it's very exciting for us to be able to share that information. I'm going to transition to Chris Boone, who is our Dean for the School of Sustainability. I want to have him do a brief introduction. He's our Senior Sustainability Scientist for the Julian Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability. He's also a professor with the School of Human Evolution and Social Change, the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and affiliated faculty with the Center of Biodiversity Outcomes. So
wow.
Chris, thank
Wow,
you.
this speaks awesome.
It's been a very busy week on campus, so we're like so excited that he was able to join us in the beginning.
Now, if you don't remember anything else, don't touch the screen.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
Actually, it's behaving. Oh, there we go. Good. Yeah. So you've already heard a lot of thanks, and I think for 2 reasons. We have a lot to be thankful for. These projects demonstrate the value of this kind of work, but also you heard a lot of thanks because there's so many people that are engaged in this exercise, from students to community members to faculty to staff to city councils, mayors, and that's of course what brings the incredibly enriching experience, is that amazing partnership that's developed just over the last 2 years, which is extraordinary. I mean, the level of success that this project has demonstrated over that very short period of time is absolutely astounding to me. Most projects need a lot more time to get up to speed, but I think you're already up to speed. So one person we haven't thanked yet, there's others too, but the one person that needs to be thanked is Ann Richmond, because Ann Richmond had the vision to really think through how to take what was already in place at Sustainable Cities Network and find a way to truly integrate with students and community members in a way that allows for learning, but also for very positive impact. So Ann, thank you very much. All right. I know you want to hear from the students, so I'll just say one last thing. I brag on this program all the time. I was just in Germany a few weeks ago, and I was asked to talk about the School of Sustainability, and the first example that I spoke about was Project Cities. I think this exemplifies not only what you saw out there on the charter, but also what the School of Sustainability tries to do, working with partners from all colleges across the university, and that's try to find ways for youth-inspired research, project-based learning that not only benefits communities in which we're embedded, but also provides students with a pathway for thinking about how to have the very best of educational experiences, which in the end is what gets me out of bed every morning. So not only do we brag about this project in the state of Arizona, but we also, I had the opportunity to brag about this project to leaders from around the world. And believe me, they were very impressed. Lots of questions about how this program got started and whether or not they could replicate that in places from Thailand to Germany to Ireland, other regions of the world. So you are an exemplar program. I have nothing but absolute confidence that this program will continue to grow in size and scope. And so thank all of you for making this what it is and making me proud of what you've been able to do. So thank you. All right.
So there's one more group that deserves some recognition here, and these are our wonderful faculty members. This semester, we were very privileged to work with Al Brown, who's a senior lecturer with the ASU Polytechnic School, which is a unit of the Ira Fulton School of Engineering. And he also works in the Environmental and Resource Management program. We worked with Dr. Deborah Salon. She's an assistant professor at the School of Geographical Sciences and Urban Planning. We worked with Dr. Nathan Parker, who's an assistant professor as well at the School of Sustainability, and Dr. Megan Ellens, who is potentially joining us via webcast in a bit. She's at a conference this week, but also an assistant professor with the School of Geographic Sciences and Urban Planning. So with that, here we go. And I should just grab the paper is what I should do. So we have 3 projects today, and we have a couple different classes working on a couple of these projects, or well, at least one of the projects, I guess. For those of you who are presenting, as Dean Boone said, do not touch the screen. Don't do what I did earlier. Also, apparently, you want to stand like a couple feet away from it even, because it's very sensitive. It's a very smart board, right? So for each project, I'm going to introduce the faculty to very briefly give a few words about the project itself, talk about the class format, etc. They will then introduce the students, have the students do their presentation. And at the end of their presentations, we're going to have a brief Q&A session. Now, students, keep an eye out for Kiana. Do you have time cards?
We lost them, so students.
Oh, okay. How are we
Oh,
okay,
okay, we found them.
Oh, yay. All right, cool. So Kiana is going to hold up some time cards for you. And Kiana, actually, can you sit somewhere that's in the direct line of sight, like maybe one of those open seats over there?
Right over there.
Yeah. So Kiana is going to hold up time cards for you. There's a 5-minute. That really only applies to Maggie, but yeah, 3-minute for the ERM class. And then for the others, you're going to get a 2-minute and a 10-second warning. All right. So when we go into Q&A, I'm going to first turn to the project leads to see if they had any specific questions to drill down a little further on how this project findings might be relevant to their department. And then after they've had a chance to ask a couple questions, we'll open it up to the room. Once again, I just want to encourage folks to pick out questions that are relevant to the whole room and save maybe the individual discussions for the poster session. With the exception of our project leads, you can say whatever you want. All right. And then at the end of the day, we're going to have a really robust poster session. As you can see, we have 8 posters here in this room. We have another 5 posters in room 401. So we have a good amount of time set aside for that. And that's a really great opportunity to really drill into these projects and get to see what's going on. So don't touch the board. Also, folks, just so you know, this is a very powerful microphone, so it does pick up whispers. Keep that in mind, especially if you're sitting next to it. Yeah, and we have the evaluations out for everyone. Great. So with that, I'm going to move us into Maggie Dello's presentation. I guess I'll introduce Dr. Deborah Salon to tell us about this project.
I'm not going to tell you about the project. I'm just going to tell you about how awesome Maggie is, so that Maggie can tell you about the project. So, my name is Deborah Salon, and I was actually the second advisor on this project. Megan Ellens was unable to be here to do the more proper introduction. But I'm super excited to tell you that Maggie Dello is one of our outstanding master's students in urban and environmental planning. And I have seen this work. I've seen her practice this presentation, and I am sure that you are all going to find it really fascinating. As she's going to be talking about, and as Brian said as well, she's going to be talking about mobile home parks in Apache Junction and some of the challenges and opportunities that are there. So why don't you come on up, Maggie? One thing I just want to let the timekeeper know, she's aware of this, but this is a big project. Her presentation is going to go a couple of minutes over, so please don't get so upset. Okay. All right.
Yeah, thank you. There you go. Stay away from that screen.
Okay. All right. So
So hello, everybody. My name is Maggie Bello. I'm a graduate student in the Masters of Urban and Environmental Planning program here at ASU. This semester, I worked on the mobile home transition project with the City of Apache Junction under the guidance of Dr. Megan Ellens, Dr. Deborah Salon, and Mr. Larry Kirsch. I would like to provide a brief outline of my presentation today. First, I will describe the challenge that the City of Apache Junction is currently facing in regards to mobile home and RV parks. I will then briefly describe the process that I followed and the research methods that I leveraged before diving into the analysis and my recommendation sections, which is where I'll spend most of the time today. Please keep in mind that this is just a small slice of the work that I completed this semester. So the City of Apache Junction is faced with a very unique challenge. Over 50% of Apache Junction's housing stock is comprised of mobile homes and RV homes. At a time when available assistance and government subsidies do not meet demand, mobile homes represent a valuable source of unsubsidized affordable housing in Apache Junction and across the United States. Mobile homes are, in fact, no longer very mobile and have gained popularity as long-term housing stock, not just temporary or recreational. In Apache Junction, there are approximately 125 parks, many of which are in just fine condition. However, there are a number of parks that predate city code and fail to conform to current zoning regulations. For instance, in Apache Junction, the minimum parcel size on which a mobile home park can be located is 10 acres. Some of the parks in the study are quite small, some as small as half an acre. Additionally, housing and park conditions on many of these properties can be quite poor, often very old and dilapidated. Some of these units were even constructed prior to HUD-imposed regulations for mobile housing passed in 1974. It's important to note that in order to protect the interests of owners of these non-conforming parks, Apache Junction allows owners to apply for rights of lawful non-conformance, which allows them to continue operating their park at its current use, even though it doesn't conform to zoning. And so the city is driven by 3 different goals for this project. First, to improve the conditions of high priority parks and increase the quality of life for residents. Second, to promote the redevelopment of parks into alternative affordable housing units when appropriate. And third, to preserve affordable housing to meet the demonstrated need of the Apache Junction population. So my process included 3 distinct parts. First, a lit review to gather research related to mobile home and RV parks, as well as affordable housing development in general. Second, I performed a needs assessment to better understand the existing conditions and characteristics of 28 city-selected high-priority mobile home and RV parks. This assessment included a windshield survey, a geographic analysis, and a demographic analysis. Lastly, I conducted expert and stakeholder interviews with Apache Junction mobile home and RV park owners, as well as professionals in affordable housing development. And because of the way that I decided to conduct my research, I have split my analysis up into 2 different parts. Part 1 of the research findings pulled together needs assessment data and park owner interview findings. And this focuses on mobile home and RV parks as affordable housing in Apache Junction. So these research findings illustrate the very wide swath of mobile housing stock, quality, value, and tenure opportunities that are available in Apache Junction. Housing ranges vastly from the impeccably well-maintained to the quite dilapidated. The stock that is available also provides opportunities for both housing unit rental and ownership. However, it's important to note that the land on which a unit sits is always rented from a property owner. So in the event of an eviction or a park closure, this puts tenants, specifically those who own their homes, in an even more vulnerable position. Mobile housing in Apache Junction predominantly caters to full-time residents on some sort of fixed income. This is not always the case, but the extreme affordability of mobile homes tends to attract this particular clientele. So this characteristic, coupled with park owners' rights of lawful nonconformance, result in a significant limitation on what park owners can do with their land. Rights of lawful nonconformance, like I mentioned before, only allow park owners to operate their parks in its current state. In the event of a fire or a flood or other accident that destroys units, the property would have to redevelop in a way that conforms to current zoning. So because these are low-income rental properties, necessary park improvements can be cost prohibitive, especially when a park owner is unable to explore development opportunities like increasing densities to help finance those improvements. Park owners have little incentive to make improvements, while redevelopment and park improvement pressures can ultimately result in the sale of a property and, most problematically, the displacement of tenants. So I have two photos that help illustrate what rights of lawful nonconformance do. The first photo displays a current nonconforming park. It has one site-built home and 8 trailers or mobile homes surrounding it. If the owner were to consider redeveloping, it would have to redevelop in a way that conforms with current zoning. This is illustrated by the second photo. This development would still cater to similarly sized housing, but it would only allow for 8 housing units instead of 9, which results in less revenue for the park owner and less incentive. Ultimately, what I found from park owners is that the success of a park is largely influenced by how a park owner decides to manage it. What I found most interesting was the property owner's ideas on how to manage a low-income rental property in particular. So one specific owner I spoke with talked about how he enjoyed renting to the low-income market because he found that it made good business sense. He believed that lower-income tenants make good and loyal renters so long as they are charged a fair and affordable rent. On the flip side, many landlords who claim to cater to low-income individuals price gouge their tenants, understanding that they're vulnerable and have very few alternative options. One park owner I spoke with referenced another owner who is, quite ironically, in some financial trouble because of how he's insisted on price gouging his tenants. Essentially, he makes as much on his rental deposits as he does on his monthly rents due to unaffordability, which results in high turnover and translates to an inconsistent income for the landlord. I also spoke to park owners who generally love operating their parks and take pride in their role as providers of affordable housing for the city of Apache Junction. So part 2 of my research findings and analysis pull together lit review research and expert interviews with professionals in affordable housing development. This section really explores the development and redevelopment of new and affordable housing stock. Redevelopment suggests new development, and rarely is it possible to develop new housing that is also affordable. The two are almost diametrically opposed. The bullet points on this slide represents just some of the tools and approaches that can help. But because of this difficulty, successful affordable housing development requires creativity and financing. Things like stacking different funds and using revenues of market rate housing as subsidies for low-income housing were just a couple of things that were mentioned. Other strategies might include the development of alternative housing types like tiny homes, micro units, or shipping container homes. But this method is not widely popular yet in the affordable housing space. The federal government has helped fill existing gaps in affordable housing development through provision of subsidies and programs, but supply still fails to meet demand. Where I think there is most value at this time, and why these last 2 bullets are highlighted, is in the role that cities can play in meeting the affordable housing needs of their residents by engaging collaboratively with affordable housing developers and helping them understand where the greatest needs and opportunities for development exist. Something like a city-issued RFP signals to developers that the city recognizes that there's a need for affordable housing. Additionally, one developer I spoke with stated that a project can increase its competitive value by crafting a compelling story and addressing a real and pronounced need that is of great interest to the local community. By explicitly stating who is in need of help and why, a city can generate excitement and interest from an affordable housing developer who will be more likely to engage in a project. Additionally, cities can more proactively attract and incentivize affordable housing development by making scarce resources, such as land and greater profit opportunities, available to developers. Things like the provision of land for affordable housing developers and relaxed zoning restrictions for market rate developers can effectively incentivize developers to work for a city. So that finally brings me to my recommendations. Driven by my research findings and analysis, I will conclude this presentation with 5 main recommendations for the city of Apache Junction. First, Apache Junction should develop a strategy for preservation, improvement, and promotion of redevelopment of specific properties based on their own specific needs and the current trends that face them. Second, Apache Junction should support and invest in mobile home and RV park owners. Many of the interviewees in this research possess a great amount of knowledge and wisdom about how to operate a mobile home park. But they also indicated that the knowledge that they possess was not always known to them. They had to go seek it out and find it along the way. By leveraging their knowledge, the city can facilitate the sharing of knowledge between park owners, which can significantly impact the quality of mobile housing and park management across the city. Third, Apache Junction should be proactive in attracting and incentivizing developers to pursue affordable and market rate housing development in the city. Developers go where the needs are, but they need to be informed of what those needs may be, and they need to be called to action. Additionally, development is aided when more resources are available. So the city should consider what kinds of resources it can collect over time and make available to developers. Fourth, the city of Apache Junction should create an action protocol for when owners list mobile and home and RV parks for sale. Because tenants may find themselves vulnerable following the sale of their mobile home or RV park, the city could facilitate opportunities for select parties, including tenants, nonprofit organizations, other Apache Junction park owners, and even the city itself to coordinate a bid for the land before the property is formally and publicly listed. This will help ensure that affordable housing is preserved, and it will prevent displacement of tenants. And fifth, Apache Junction should create an affordable housing development overlay. The overlay would be applied to non-conforming parks and allow for things like increased density and decreased setback requirements. This would not only incentivize affordable development, but also preserve affordable housing stock in a place where it would otherwise be threatened. So I've already showed you these first two images. The first is an example of a current mobile home park in a state of nonconformance. The second illustrates what redeveloping to conform with current zoning would look like. But now this third image illustrates the impact of an affordable housing overlay. Through relaxed zoning restrictions, a park could develop in a way that increases density and the number of rentable units, which ultimately translates to increased profits. This provides the incentive for park updates, but also ensures that affordable housing is preserved and increased. So mobile housing provides a great source of affordable housing, the value of which cannot be overlooked. By leveraging just a few tools and the knowledge that already exists in the city, Apache Junction can improve conditions, promote development, and high-quality affordable housing for the population that needs it the most. Thank you. Any questions?
So I guess we'll go to Apache Junction first.
Well, like anything, but thank you, Maggie, for doing it. And thank you, Project Cities, for allowing us to be part of this. Like anything, there's never a simple solution. It's not like, okay, then we're going to do this one thing and we're going to fix this problem. So I like Maggie's approach that this is going to take years to get out of. I think a lot of the problems we've seen are that we have park owners who are aging out. So they're 70, 80, 90 years old, and all of a sudden their family inherits the park and they don't know what to do with it. We have other parks, these non-conforming parks, we've had some examples of that. I like this idea of like an owner's roundtable, so owners can learn from each other. An overlay district is certainly something that's feasible. So we take a park that's a couple acres and we could put some other type of housing in there that's still affordable, but that offers opportunity. Some of these parks are fairly dilapidated, but they are a place where folks have to live. They really don't have a lot of housing choice. So all these tools in a collective toolbox, I think, can kind of set us on the right direction. And I think it's like these other project cities that Brian was talking about, the projects we've done with Al Brown and the solid waste project. What I really applaud about this program is this is not something that we're just doing or that you're doing for the sake of doing it. We are actually taking this applied research, giving folks practical experience, and putting the report to some final action. So I know we can take this back to the city council, present it to the council, and have them make some positive steps towards improving the quality of life for these residents. So more of a comment and a thank you than a question. Thank you.
Just had one question for Maggie. Did any of the owners that you talked to, did they say anything about tiny homes? And because we haven't had any, I mean, I call us, we have a lot of, you know, that's a trend where, but how big does the home need to be and why don't we have more developers?
I think the reason that we don't have more developers who are interested in tiny homes is because they really rely on low-income housing tax credits. And for developing something like a tiny home where they're not going to make money back on it after that 15-year period of affordable housing, it's just not something that's going to be profitable for them. But the park owners that I did speak with were extremely, one in particular was extremely interested in redeveloping in a way similar to that. He's just looking for ways to do that so that he can remain profitable in his park.
Thanks, excellent presentation. Really enjoyed it. I noticed in the last slide we had a couple of things that deliberate to provide space.
Yeah, some green space.
And was that reflective of your understanding of the importance of public space, or did that come up in the discussion?
Yeah, I think so mobility is not something that people in these parks really value. A lot of what they value is the proximity to their neighbors and the community that they've been able to build in their parks. So allowing for some green space would just provide more space for people to connect and get to know their neighbors and build a community. Yeah.
Thank you, Maggie. This has been great. I have one question about utility infrastructure. What's the current state of utility infrastructure in all of these parks? How would it need to transition to make that possible?
So I know that a lot of these parks are not, they're still on septic and they're not on sewer. But as far as other utility infrastructure, I didn't get that deep into what that would look like for this particular project.
There are a lot of parks that are still on 1960s power from SRP that, low hanging lines we've had that emergency vehicles can't get into. Well, part of that really was, again, an impetus to do the study. Yeah. So the parks themselves, if there's sewer running right down South Warner, we really can't make them connect until they redevelop. So, but power and electricity, those are, there are some hazards in there that we also have to take care of.
I think we can maybe take one more question. Okay. Well done. So, it is time. Wait. All right. Learning how this thing works. That's pretty great. So, for our next group, I'm going to invite up Al Brown to speak a little bit about his class for the chemicals, above ground storage, tanks, safety and compliance update.
Hi everyone, I'm Al Brown. Steal the students' time here. Want to tell you that this class is a comprehensive hazardous waste management class. And the work that the students did is just one part, a significant part of all the things they had to learn this semester. And I know that they found themselves really immersed in this and still got A's. I'm grading those papers and exams now. So I'm looking forward to hearing the student presentations. I know they put their hearts and soul into them. You will be getting introduced, all of them here as they stand up and speak. And thank you very much to the City of Glendale, especially for making this opportunity available to our students and the project cities at Apache Junction in the past. So let's hear from our students. Yeah, that's good fun, yeah.
Clicker, here you go. Yeah, so, well, left and right. Switch your menus. I think the top one's already there.
Well, hello, my name is Marie Schneider. I represent Group 1 for the ASU Project Cities collaboration with the City of Glendale for their above-ground storage tank management plan development. In this presentation, I will be giving a brief overview of the project and our task, and I will be discussing our reviews and analysis for enforceable regulations and best practice standards that relate to above-ground storage tanks or ASTs. And we use these to develop our list of recommendations for the City of Glendale. Our Group 1's task was to research standards and regulations to apply to ASTs that are not covered by the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act or the Spill Prevention, Control, and Containment requirement. The standards and regulations that we reviewed and analyzed allowed us to develop a list of recommendations. And I'll be discussing our list of standards and regulations in the following slides. The City of Glendale has many facilities that have had permits issued to them. And these, we only included 3 in our presentation relating specifically to above ground storage tanks. These include the hazardous materials permit, the fire permit for flammable and combustible liquids, and the air quality permit to operate and/or construct. Each of these permits has specific conditions relating to compliance and renewal and expiration dates. The hazardous materials permit and the fire permit both require certain forms to be filled out and submitted to the fire departments. These forms include the hazardous materials inventory sheet, the hazardous materials management plan, and the safety data sheets. Per OSHA regulations, the hazardous materials inventory sheet and all applicable safety data sheets should also be kept current and at the workplace. NFPA 30 relates to flammable and combustible liquids storage in above ground storage tanks. They detail overfill protections and regulate the fire protections and preventions. And they also recommends proper tank maintenance, operation, installation, following professional engineering standards, and operation according to manufacturer's instructions. The State Fire Marshal's Office has regulations regarding hazard signage and fuel tank, fire and overfill protections as well. OSHA HAZWOPER regulates hazardous materials spills and containment, and the National Science Foundation ANSI 61 standard relates to water treatment chemical above ground storage tanks and requires that they also be properly maintained and operated. Above ground storage tanks are considered confined spaces, and for OSHA regulations do require confined space entry permit for work such as cleaning and inspections. The confined space entry permit details duration, the hazards of the work, any tests that may be required of the internal tank atmosphere, and any personal protective equipment that may also be required. NFPA 326 details pre-entry work and describes the procedures that should be used during cleaning of the tank. Glendale does contract out their entry work such as cleaning and inspections, but they do need to maintain direct and consistent lines of communication between them and their contractors to ensure that they understand the hazard and the details of the entry work. The Steel Tank Institute and the American Petroleum Institute have both published guidelines relating to tank inspections. These include periodic, external, and internal inspections. Periodic inspections should be conducted regularly and should follow monthly and annual inspection checklists provided by the STI. External and internal inspections follow similar criteria, including secondary containment condition, tank wall, bottom, and roof thicknesses, and noting corrosion and leaks. External inspections should vary in frequency from 5 to 15 years, and internal inspections vary in frequency from 10 to 20 years. Our reviews and analysis allowed us to develop our list of recommendations as previously mentioned. These first recommendations relate specifically to facilities and the permits they hold. Facilities should continue to track expiration and renewal dates and to ensure compliance and ensure that all revisions are submitted in a timely manner. The facilities matching the applicability standards of the International Fire Code should ensure that current HMMP, HMIS, and all SDS are submitted and an appropriate SDS and HMIS are kept on site. Facilities must follow OSHA HAZWOPER procedures for hazardous spill containment. Tanks containing flammable and combustible liquids should have overfill protections. Glendale facility supervisors should be familiar with tank entry protocol and ensure outside contractors are doing the same. And facilities should ensure that ASTs are inspected regularly following STI or API or combination standard. While our research does not represent an exhaustive list of applicable standards and regulations, we are confident that our work will help Glendale to achieve its goal of compliance, worker safety, and a long-lasting usability of their ASTs. Thank you.
All right, we're going to do all 3 groups from this class and then do Q&A at the end with all of them. So can I get group 2, please come up?
How's that?
Yeah.
Right, here we go.
Good afternoon, my name is Saskia Kemp. And I am Emily Hinkle. And today we will be presenting the results of our benchmarking study where we assessed other AST programs. Our task was to research and benchmark data from existing AST programs of other cities, businesses, and governments. This data would then be used to prepare and recommend an internal city compliance, operations, and management program to the City of Glendale. The City of Glendale currently has 135 ASTs in need of regulatory compliance. In order to compile a comprehensive report, we split the benchmarking tasks into 3 categories. 1, the municipal sector, which was divided into state and tribal. 2, the military sector. And 3, the commercial sector, which is divided into industry and transportation. Our research was guided by the following parameters. The tanks would not contain RCRA hazardous waste. They would all be over 55 gallons. And O&M, as well as regulatory compliance procedures, would be used as our prime resources. Municipalities. The state of Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, the Department of Environmental Protection is the regulatory agency which has implemented their statewide AST O&M procedures. 2 best practices employed within their program are 1, visual AST inspections every 72 hours as a part of their routine maintenance inspections program, and 2, that PADEP certified inspectors are required to conduct all large inspections, including in and out service, installation, and modification inspections. NASAP is the National Association of State Above Ground Storage Tank Programs. It is made up of a group of representatives from state regulatory agencies from across the nation. The website compiles a brief summary of each state's AST program with links to their state programs, information on their codes and regs, and as well as the programs and materials that they regulate. Navajo Nation. Navajo Nation has implemented the Navajo Nation Storage Tank Program. A best practice of their program is that it requires tanks to report any upgrade, tank replacement, or change in use of tank within 30 days to the NNSTP. ASTs under this program must also comply with the Navajo Nation's Clean Water Act, their Oil Pollution Prevention Act, as well as existing regulations and standards.
For the military sector, we researched and contacted military bases around the United States to learn about their AST management programs and regulations. The Air Force created manual AFMAN is a compilation of federal regulations and Air Force specific guidelines. This is a significant best practice as it is an understandable, comprehensive document that guides the Air Force's AST management program. For the Army, we contacted Fort Bragg, Fort Benning, Fort Huachuca, and Fort Carson. During visual AST inspections, Fort Bragg checks for live grass growing around the bottom of the tanks, as that is a sign that a leak is not polluting the soil. Fort Benning's inspection ensures that the AST's audible horns and lights are working properly to prevent overfill. Fort Huachuca uses ASTs with battery run alarms and automatic shut-off devices. The AST inspection checklist includes checking the battery status. This is a best management practice that is rarely included on other organizations' SOPs. Several of Fort Carson's best management practices are regularly reviewing and updating their AST management and SOP plans and constructing the ASTs with a device to relieve excessive internal pressure caused by exposure to fires. The Army's best management practice has been the development of their own Army environmental regulations, AR 200-1 and AR 200-3, which serve as environmental protection standards. The Navy and Marine Corps maintain safety data sheets on site with the ASTs. A best management practice of the Marine Corps base at Quantico is the use of checklists for daily, weekly, monthly, and annual inspections, which establish a reliable baseline for the ASPs. A best management practice the Coast Guard follows is monthly leak monitoring through automatic tank gauging, monitoring for vapors in the soil, and interstitial monitoring. The Coast Guard uses leak capturing in case double-walled tanks and maximizes environmental and worker safety by testing the suction piping every 3 years for tightness. The industrial sector primarily relies on current laws, regulations, and health and safety specialists to keep their ASPs in compliance. Honeywell's best management practices are uncommon and include defined storage area requirements such as label visibility, aisle space, and secondary containment wall height. Honeywell has annual employee storage tank training to maintain a consistent and safe environment. APS's best management practices include the use of double-walled tanks and adherence to the industry standards API and SPI.
For the commercial transportation sector, we studied Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, where they store fuel in both ASTs and USTs. Significant fuel storage areas can be found at the AZ Air National Guard Base, the AZ Fueling Facility Corp., as well as the Executive Terminal Fuel Farm. PHX serves as the 161st Air Refueling Wing for the National Air Guard. And other chemicals such as paint, chemical toilet water, glycol-based de-icing fluids can be found in totes of 250 gallons on site. The Los Angeles International Airport has established the Administration of Unified Program, or UP. They carry out enforcement activities while also managing environmental and emergency response programs. The UP, the Los Angeles Fire Department, is the designated city's Unified Program Agency, or CUPA, and they manage and regulate the Above Ground Petroleum Storage Act. Here is a compiled list of all of our research, which you guys can see on our poster in the next room. And a few best practices discovered during our project were routine visual inspections every 72 hours, record keeping for a minimum of 5 years, the implementation of a standard operating procedure, or SOP, thorough inspection criteria on checklists, including battery statuses, and routine annual training of employees.
We recommend that the City of Glendale implement a mandatory SOP plan in accordance with industry standards to manage their ASPs. There should be a proper spill plan in place that marks all possible sewers on the premise to prevent the contamination of rivers, streams, or groundwater in the event of a release. A responsible party should be delegated the maintenance of record keeping, compliance with regulations, and adherence to best industry practices. It is exciting to see how many different sectors work to manage their ASPs in an environmentally responsible way. It has been a privilege to partner with the City of Glendale on this project. We look forward to seeing how the City of Glendale will manage their ASPs as we look to a safe, clean, and sustainable future. Thank you.
All right, is anyone else from Group 2 in the room? If so, I'd love you to stand up so we can recognize your work as well. Okay, thank you, that's for Group 1. Do you have anyone else from Group 1 here in the room? All right, well, they were great. All right, I'd like to invite Group 3 to come on up. And folks, please make sure that you're keeping an eye on Kiana with the time cards. There we go.
Right?
Yeah, right and left.
Hello everyone, I'm Hunter Callender. I'm here with Tempe campus for their fuel tank program proposal. Our presentation outline is going to go, we have a project overview, recommendations, and a conclusion or end product for the City of Glendale. So our project overview, we were broken down into 3 questions. Our first question was, is the STI SP001 the correct standard to be using, and is there any other standards that should be used on their backup generators? Our second was if diesel fuel ages and what kind of testing can be done to make sure that this diesel fuel will be usable. And finally, the contractor standard practices from other contractors and the contractors that Glendale uses. So the STI SP001 standard is the Steel Tank Institute standard for above ground storage tanks, as you've heard. And this is a correct standard to be used. It follows EPA practices that the state of Arizona is mandatory. Other standards that can be used is the API standard 653, which is the American Petroleum Institute, and that's more geared towards the diesel storage tanks. And both of these recommend to look at the manufacturer's specifications on the maintenance and handling of the storage tanks. The second question that we had was does diesel fuel age? Based on the BP Oil Company study, it does age. It can last over 2 years, but in heat, it can last as little as 6 months. In the city of Glendale, there's a 6-month period from May to October that is above 30 degrees Celsius, which showed that there was degradation in the fuel based on the BP study. If it was under the 20-degree ambient temperature mark, then that was when they got the study of 2-year plus diesel fuel lifespan. There's different testing that can be done. There's visual and lab testing. The visual testing is testing for haziness, darkness in the fuel, or sedimentation. And if any of these fail during the testing, the lab testing of D2274 can be done, where they take it in the lab and run it at 45 degrees Celsius over 16 hours and test if the diesel fuel is usable for the backup generators. And our last section is about the contractor standard practices. So standard practices should be annual inspection of the backup generator. There's quarterly maintenance on the fuel itself. And during this maintenance, the visual checks can be done. Also, additives can be added into the fuel. So this includes biocides, stabilizers, and metal deactivators. This all extends the lifespan of the fuel. And the generators should be ran to ensure workability, because these generators would be used in emergency situations. They're not used often, so testing for reliability is necessary. And for the EPA, anytime that the diesel fuel is either ran out or replaced, the entire generator should be checked inside and out for any leaks, cracks, or blemishes in the tank. So our recommendations for the city of Glendale, use the STI standards and verify that these are the manufacturer standards too. The diesel fuel should be tested quarterly. The BP Snake is the contractor that the city of Glendale gets their fuel from. They do water replacement or ejection from the diesel fuel tanks, but they do not do any testing of the fuel itself. They do add biocides, but that's the only additives that they add. And so we recommend that the fuel is replaced yearly based on the temperature. It can be ran out longer if it's lab tested. And the yearly inspections on the storage tank is recommended, but based on the AMES construction that installs the tanks for the city of Glendale, they don't recommend, or they don't necessarily have you check your storage tanks once a year, only when the EPA allows you or makes you check it when the diesel fuel is ran out. And the generator should be tested once every 6 months. And in summary, use the standards and manuals that were given by the company that made the tanks. Prepare for your emergencies. So hope for the best, but expect the worst, and prepare for the worst. So make sure that this lasts. and check with the contractors to make sure that they are doing all of their delegated duties and making sure that diesel fuel will be available for emergencies. And thank you.
Do we have any other students here from group 3, the RM class? All right, well, they did a great job. Saskia and Emily come back up. We are running a little behind schedule, so we're going to do Q&A kind of briefly, but I want to pass it over to Monica. Did you have questions?
Well, I just want to first thank you, and secondly, because I could see the question marks over the city management right here saying, wait, don't we already do that? And my job is to worry. I'm a compliance officer. I've been doing this for a very long time. They pay me to worry and to fuss. And so I was working on a plan and looked at some of the things that were required, and I got very nervous that maybe we were missing something. So what you have done is you have answered the questions. No, we're not missing anything. Do we have some places we can improve? Yes. And not only have you given me this information that I can take and disseminate to our city departments, I can also take it to the next level of environmental management. I can take it past, are we in compliance? Yes. Are we protecting the environment? Yes. But now are we using our resources really smartly? Because the more maintenance we have, the better maintenance we have, the better we manage our product. And we don't have hazardous waste. What they were very kind to do, they came out. We had a city field trip, and many of these students came out and looked at all of our operations, and it was a really, I hope that it was helpful to you. And I told them some of the stories, and they were graceful enough to not share them, because we are not perfect, but we are very protective of the environment. And the reason they didn't study hazardous waste in tanks is because we don't have any. So it's not like we're just ignoring them. But I want to thank you all for the work that you did. Now we can take it and make our program even better. So a big thanks to Al, to your entire class.
Did you have any questions for the group?
Oh, I have drilled them.
Yeah.
About that too, so I'm not going to ask them any more questions.
All right, well, we can take 1 or 2 questions from the audience. We have one over here, Irene.
You mentioned that the Navajo Nation has a program. Do you know some of the other tribes in Arizona also have a program, or is that mostly AEQ that would do the compliance?
So they do comply with existing federal laws and regulations, of course, but Navajo Nation and also White Apache tribe, but their compliance is mostly for their water tanks.
Okay. One more question? Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Well done. All right. So we are going to have a little break, and we need to be pretty expeditious about this, but we're going to go do some group photos first. So I want to invite everyone to come with us down to the first floor. We're going to stand right outside of the building. We have a few different shots that we're going to do. Ashley over here and Kayla over here are going to direct you. Kayla, can you raise it a little higher so everyone sees you? Pay attention to these folks and do what they say, okay? So we're going to take about 10 minutes to do photos, and then we have about 5 more minutes buffer in there to take care of your human biology, whatever that may entail. Cool. All right, and we'll meet you downstairs. Yes. Yeah. In case it wasn't clear, we're meeting back here after the break.
Yeah.
So Heather. So I'm assuming you have okay.
Are you other looking very Hey. Thank you, but now the hard part. Couple thoughts.
And we're gonna do a group photo for the team first.
Okay. All right. And
Yeah.
Is it okay that we don't stick around for the last presentation? Although I would
no, I mean, whatever you have time.
So you want this or?
Yes, I can pass that on. Yeah.
You won't get it.
I'm very professional. That's okay. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. All right. Well, great.
Yeah, it's the same.
I do talk to you soon.
Yeah, Elena's gonna be there. Yeah, Mike.
Not little one.
Yeah. They want to make a combination. Well, I think they're overall, they built that shed. They didn't get a permit, I guess.
I know. So let that.
We have limited time, so
And then we have to go to part of the photo opportunity.
Yeah, I think I called, yeah. Yeah. It does.
From the city.
I don't. She wants to take pictures. She's tall. She's.
No, I don't. Did Larry already leave? Oh,
You know, they're-
Oh, yeah, just have
These
three
two,
of us.
these two.
Brian's already went down. You
I'm
can
not
get Brian's
Brian's.
Larry.
I don't like, I'm not so.
If you insist, you're doing separate photos with the city, Patch Junction and Glendale, so you're gonna be missing.
Yeah, go.
Really, really, come on.
Yeah, you're tall, you're easy on the eyes. Go for it. It's all good. Oh.
just saw the pictures. Doesn't everybody love getting their photo taken?
Just making more efficient use of my time.
I sat out the first way, but then they came up down the side.
They snagged you anyway.
Well, I thought, if they could get 20 teams out of there, fine, but apparently they won.
Where did everyone go?
To the pictures, and then I believe they're still mulling around because I've seen them come up.
Oh, okay.
You were in the pictures, weren't you?
Now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
How are you, Larry?
doing? Is that your,
I'll just.
you taking a picture of all of them? They're probably gonna be on the website.
Did you find the mouse? I don't have to wear this one. Sorry about that. So Jade, you're the lone rider, huh?
I am, yes.
You are. Am I bothering you going back?
No.
All right.
He's the next city.
Oh, okay, used to, yeah. All the photography.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Cool.
So this was a from protection.
Okay.
Well, Heather was having to leave, so she just wanted to.
Yeah. Short one. Very short.
I think we're good. It's good. Yeah. Everyone. Public.
That's great.
So I gave Jana my.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
So I think we
What's that?
Are you the Lone Ranger?
It's have to be back by board.
Oh.
Amanda, are you feeling any better?
No.
You're in a lot.
Maybe.
I'm all over here
There's a East Valley Partnership. Today's couple of years there. I still have the other two. I don't want to make it sound like program. They're still waiting. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to get we would like to try to avoid as much readings. You have a historic district, that's good. Yeah. Very positive. Anything ever yeah, it's amazing. Analysis. I mean, I just started reading the one.
Well, the best part is
yeah. It is, and I've already talked about it. I'd like to bring it out. It's not a big deal. I'm happy to have her.
All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get going again. I want to thank everyone for helping us to make that a quick and seamless process for the pictures. We'll be putting everything that we take here today out on our Facebook. Well, I guess the best ones. We're going to pick the best photos and put them out there for you. And without further ado, we're going to move on to our next project, which is our last project of the day. And you'll notice that this one's a slightly different format. We took a divide and conquer approach on this. There are 8 student groups in the next project who each addressed a different question. What we're going to do is we're going to have those students go stand at your posters now. And we're going to let each of you present from your poster. Just kind of signal to me to change slides. So if I can ask all those students.
Wait, hold on. Before
yes.
that, his question.
Okay. Yes, we'll have you go first. Yes. But can I ask all those students to please go stand by your posters? Okay, I'm gonna have to, I put all the slides into an order, so I'm gonna have to kind of mess around here.
I think I added one.
All right. Cool. Where we are? Yeah. Okay. Excellent. All right. I'll introduce the faculty. All right, so first I'm going to call up Dr. Nathan Parker and Dr. Deborah Salon to give you a little bit of background on their classes.
Hello, I'm Nathan Parker. We have 3 students from my class who are doing this project as an honors contract as part of the Barrett project. So it's an extension on their regular class. And the regular class is the Sustainable Energy Systems class. And so we're basically learning all about sustainable energy systems. This is a really nice way that they get practical hands-on experience looking at that.
So the overall project that all of the students standing up have been working on over the course of the semester
is thinking about fleet electrification for the city of Glendale. We hope and we think and hope that some of the findings that will have come out might be generalizable to other cities as well. So I guess a little bit of logistics. So these students, we're working with Dr. Parker, and they'll be giving sort of a longer presentation because the requirements for the courses were a little bit different, so they didn't make posters. And then my students have much, much shorter presentations with more detail on their posters. So what we're gonna do, I think, is have these guys give their longer presentation, and then we'll have my students kind of give very short introductions to what they did, and then we'll have a Q&A, and then if you really wanna find out more, please, 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 at the end of this, go around and talk to the students and look at their posters and see more details about what they've done. Okay, without further ado.
Perfect. So yeah, as it was mentioned, this project is mirrored with our final presentations for the course, which we had yesterday, in which we had 10 minutes. Now we have 5, so bear with us. We're going to be moving a little quickly, and a lot of the details will also be published in the city report, and we have a pretty lengthy document as well that has more details to check out. Yes, this is our initial presentation.
So our project more specifically looks at charging options for the potential electric fleet for the city of Glendale. Of course, Glendale has a vehicle fleet of over 1,000 vehicles, both heavy duty and light duty. And our report more focuses on those light duty vehicles. Those are the little sedans that are going to get you from different meetings and those types of things. So primarily the charging options, or the charging stations that we are looking at today are level 2 chargers. That's a nice base to get Glendale started as they explore different, their transition, different options for that. But we also do explore level 3 chargers, which are those super fast chargers that you hear about. So.
This is just a picture of their Glendale garage, their heavy duty fleet vehicles.
Okay, so I'll just give a brief background on our research that we did. These 4 main criteria right here: affordability, efficiency, lifetime, and maintenance, were what we were looking at in our broad research to determine what we should be looking at for chargers. So our first criteria was affordability. That was what we were looking at most, first of all. So we looked at the level 1, 2, and 3 chargers and the price ranges. As expected, price is going to go up with the level. So level 1 and 2 are much more affordable than a level 3, and so that in the end we decided that those are the ones we were going to look at, specifically level 2s. And then we also look at installation costs. And this is really depending on where you're going to be installing your chargers. The biggest cost is going to come with adding new wiring. So you can see the level 1s and 2s without wiring are up to 10 times more expensive. Our second criteria was efficiency. So there's 2 types of charging sessions you're really going to get. There's greater than 2 kilowatts and less than 2 kilowatts. The greater than 2 kilowatts is going to be overnight usually, or a long-term charge, while the lower energy charge is going to be on the roadside. So the high energy charging sessions are a lot more efficient, and then the low energy charging, you're going to see a big increase with the level 2 being significantly more efficient than a level 1, which further incentivized us to choose a level 2 chargers. And another thing to note is efficiency does go down with temperature, and the level 2s perform a lot better at higher temperatures than the level 1s, which is especially relevant in Arizona. Then we looked at maintenance. Not too much maintenance going into the level 1 or 2 chargers. You might have to replace your outlets or your cord sets. Couple $100, not too much. The only additional cost you're going to look at in a level 2 charger is the network cost. If it is a smart charger, it can be pricey, but that's the only added cost. And then most sources estimate around 10 years for a useful life before replacement or significant maintenance.
So there was a lot of information that we found in a lot of different research points that created this. There was a lot of reasons that we needed to look into things, but it was really complex, as with most sustainability challenges. There's a huge number of things you have to consider. So rather than us trying to make an assessment about that, we built a decision matrix that would be able to help us guide our recommendations for the city of Glendale. And we put together a large list of chargers, of the different charging options. These are only the level 2 charging options that we found. And this is by all means not the only chargers that are on the market. These are just a list of those that met, they fit well with the codes that we developed, looking at the cost, the amperage capacity, the output power, the space required, and the lengths of the charging cable. And then things to note from this decision matrix, there'll be a lot more details in our report, but since we're short on time to rush through, the JuiceBox Pro 32 and then the Bosch EV410 were the 2 chargers that won out the most. So those are the things that the decision matrix felt best suited the city of Glendale's needs based on our criteria. But also something that's worth noting is other charging options like the JuiceBox Pro 75, just below that. it performed very well across the board. So this is a conditionally formatted decision matrix. So the darker the green, the better. And you'll notice that Juicebox Pro 75 did well across the board.
So then with these chargers and looking at the top 3 and 4 chargers from our decision matrix that were recommended, we did a SWOT analysis on each. So this kind of gives you an overview of the charger and so our SWOT analysis that we did. So this is the Juicebox Pro 32. It pretty much won in our decision matrix as far as pricing goes and amperage. And the great thing about these Juicebox chargers is they come with Wi-Fi compatibility. So that could be a really great resource for the city of Glendale to use to better monitor their chargers as they're starting off exploring how to go forward with different chargers. So then there's the Juicebox Pro 75, which really didn't win on the decision matrix because of price, but it's only a little bit more expensive and has a really great amperage. So we found that this would probably be the best option for the city of Glendale. Although it's a bit more of an investment, it is more flexible with that higher amperage. And then these are just some of the other options like the Bosch and that sort of thing. So, oh, and then we did also look into a level 3 charger. That's the fast charger, just to give an example of what that looks like. But that would be for later considerations with Glendale looking at public and private usage of the charging station.
Cool. So yeah, as it was mentioned, our recommended course of action for the city of Glendale is to consider the Juicebox Pro 75 just because it's flexibility for something that it offers a lot of value in what it could be used for, especially in the critical stage of starting off a transition. It will be really important that it's a charger that is effective for the public to engage with and it's comprehensive and easy for the city officials to get into. And also with the connectivity like options that this offers, it can be really helpful for setting up the initial transition for this long-term project. All right. Thank you.
All right, so I wanted to just make one quick housekeeping note. We really value feedback, and we have event evaluations that are out here on the table as you exit. You know, as we start to wrap up today, I want to just really request that you please provide some feedback so that we can make this event even better for the next semester. So we're going to, sorry, in the interest of time, we're going to have to skip Q&A for this group. However, we're going to immediately go into the poster session. So there's 8 posters around the room here, and I encourage you to bring those questions up to the individual groups. So now we're going to present in place from your posters. So I actually don't know whose poster this is.
We do a housekeeping first.
Yes, what's up?
Was that group 1 or we started group 1 or where does this group fit in?
Oh gosh, yeah, because I just have them numbered.
Right,
Huh?
you just have
All right, so let's call them for the city evaluations. That was group 1.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, so then the next up is going to be group 2 right over here. And you can just cue me when you need to switch the slides. Oh, sorry, one more housekeeping thing for those presenting. Lexi is now keeping time for us right over here with the red hair.
Okay, so just to start us off, we looked into the challenges, benefits, and potential partnerships with the EV transition. My name is Kelly. This is Nick, Lydia, Gail, and
Steve, go ahead. Sorry, yeah. On it.
So basically, based on what I researched in Hawaii, it is really important for the city of Glendale to encourage different partnerships among each other. Hawaii has actually become the second largest state in demand of EVs. They not only have transitioned from the government vehicles, they also transitioned to more people actually owning EVs. So basically what they did is that they made a program describing the challenges and the benefits of changing to EVs.
In addition to that, there's a partnership known as the Climate Mayors Electric Vehicle Purchasing Cooperative. And they are a collaboration between the mayors of about 24 and growing different cities that all have a commitment to helping the environment and also improving the electric vehicle fleet infrastructure of the local city. And so they have formed a purchasing collaborative and have joined with Sourcewell, which is a NGO that helps kind of just these public municipalities buy electric vehicles at a cheaper price. And so this purchasing collaborative has formed policy guidelines, procurement guidelines, and form a valuable partner that will help Glendale achieve their goals.
I believe this is our last slide. So if you have any questions about the research that we did, or specifically about any of the different organizations that we looked into, just stop by and
We have some other cities that research. There's a lot of data.
Thank you.
Back.
So thankfully, we are looking at this stuff that so the research will come out of public understanding of what they know, so their vehicle. How much they spend charging their vehicle. The fees of it on the road plan. And we as a company, trying to report on Glendale as a BC project. So we all projects design. I think that is the most reflection way to which people need their costs. And we see the research I saw is both standards. That I thought we can look at both safety, school type of parking panels, and
All right, over here, group 4. And folks, please just remember to project, enunciate, so you can hear across the room.
All right, so our project was focused on marketing the electric fleet that Glendale is switching to employees currently that will be using the fleet. And my name is Cameron Kramer.
Ali Baloo.
And our other two partners, Dion and Brandon, couldn't be here due to conflicts.
So our research question, our scope was how we could convince a local Glendale City employee to use an electrical vehicle over conventional gas-powered vehicle, and what reasons they would see better suiting with an electrical vehicle rather than conventional gas.
And so the key findings that we want to convey to Glendale is that range anxiety is one of the biggest things that employees fear. So we want to stress that the Nissan Leaf or any vehicle that Glendale is moving toward will have enough range for a Glendale employee to get around on a day-to-day basis. We want to stress the features of the vehicle to show that it's a modern vehicle. It's great and it stacks up to the conventional gas-powered vehicle. We want to stress the look that it provides for the city, saying that the city cares, they're green, they're clean. They really want to move toward a new age look, and they are going to stress it really hard. And then we also wanted to show where charging stations were so drivers know where they can recharge the vehicle, just to combat range anxiety a little more. And if you have any other questions, we'd love to answer them at our poster.
All right, we're here.
What we wanted to look into is where should we put the charging stations of the electric fleets? That was a surprisingly challenging objective because there's a lot of variables that we didn't know how to collect data for. But one of the aspects that we want to look into is where is it going to be most useful. All parameters were at least 45 minutes stay time and no more than 3 hours. That was the kind of time frame that we looked into, because we thought, like other groups, that level 3 charging stations are unviable at this point. So we looked into parks, colleges, city council, and some shopping malls, although that wasn't very attractive, but it guaranteed stay time and we can engage some of the commerce of the city. Because if you look in some of our slides, the population density is not there yet. Everyone is kind of spread out. So we didn't that wasn't a factor in our decision, and we did not consider people who work outside of the city of Glendale, although there's quite a few of them. But yeah, it's not that much of a presentation, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Next, over here.
Now it's something
Are we-
charging station in
Six?
Glendale City. And my name is Abdul. Our research question is where and how many charging stations should be implemented in the city of Glendale and how we could benefit the whole city of Glendale.
So we were looking into aspects for the city fleet and also for the public use, as a matter of like the charging stations, where should they be located is for the public, for the mixed land use areas and where there's a high activity during the day. And also we also had suggestions for the number of the charging stations for the city fleet, which is keeping them the same for now, unless there is some future development plans to increase the number of electric vehicles in the fleet.
That was our recent question, and if you have a question, we will hold on.
Where are we? Is this group 7? Or status? Okay, cool.
So we looked at the overall budget of comparing electric vehicles to replacement of conventional vehicles. Just seeing to project how much a price difference would be with the long term both of these types of
So the research questions were the cost benefits of electric vehicles compared to gas vehicles. So this one approach is like a direct comparison. With the maintenance and then the big thing is cost of fuel. We got a week probably data from City of Glendale, and it was true that compare the gas powered vehicles to the diesel vehicles. So if they drove X amount of miles in the gas powered vehicles, they spend X amount of dollars, and then we created a table to show how much they would save driving that same amount of miles in the Nissan Leaf, and you do it. In order to make this worthwhile, you have to drive it. That's pretty much the key takeaway.
Makes sense.
Yeah. That's how you make the money back. The Nissan Leaf are a little more expensive than a conventional vehicle, but when we're driving it, the more safe.
All right, last but not least, there we go. Back to
John. And our research question was under storage conditions of electric vehicles connected to battery life. And the findings were that increased temperature is associated to actually battery life overall compared to cities like Minnesota or LA. We did less miles per charge every year. So our key findings were that if you're not already looking for a spot in the summer, you should probably start just to maximize your car's battery.
Well, we wrapped that up quicker than I thought, so we do have time for questions. Do we have any kind of general questions from the group that we can kind of kick up? Yeah, that's good.
Is this a commercial fleet just for like employees and stuff, or will this be also available to like residents and things like that? Just for employees, right?
It's currently the municipal fleet for the city employees.
Okay.
I mean, the projection is to create an infrastructure that will support the entire city, but the starting transition begins with the same municipal fleet.
And I guess I should first kick it over to y'all and see if you had any specific questions if you'd like to ask the room.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Monica in the sense that I've been sending comments when given opportunity, so I'm going to defer to Michelle because I know Michelle has been a huge supporter of this project as well.
Did you look at all at, when you looked at the location of the stations, that potential transition from the internal fleet to the external, and really the public use of those stations? I don't know if that's-
So you want to address that?
Yeah.
Over here.
We did, yes, when we looked into something that would be exclusive for the city, it wasn't economically viable. There's a small pool of just 4 vehicles right now, and we don't know how much or how quick the city would expand. One way to offset the cost of the infrastructure is to have access to the public. So, because we found that with infrastructure in place, it boosts the adaptability of electric vehicles, and with more support, hopefully can get more funding for that push. And it's still an emerging concept to just switch to electric wholeheartedly, but we would recommend including the public. It's too expensive to just leave for the city right now.
And I think somebody did a number of stations. Yeah. Yeah. So did you look at, like, currently there's a 1-to-1 station to vehicle? Is there an optimum number of vehicles you can support for charging station?
Okay, so for the city fleet, we decided that they only had 4 electric vehicles, and we thought that four charging stations is enough number right now. Even though 3 charging stations can still strategically charge 3 or 4 charging stations, because the average of for the electric vehicle to go is 100 miles per charge, and it's enough for the vehicle to serve more than 4 weeks, based on the data that we collected from the Excel that was sent to us from the city. So that's the reason why we thought that 4 is enough, unless there is a plan to increase the number of the vehicles in the fleet, then we can add the number of the charging stations in the fleet.
Something else to add on to that as well as the average capacity chargers. Like, you only have for level 2 options, you only be able to charge 1 car off 1 charger per time. But some of the level 3 options do offer like multiple charging cables because they're a higher average capacity. But that would be something.
Also, the average mile for vehicle in City of Glendale is 70 miles per day, which is really low. So almost like 100 per month. So they don't need that much of charging station. So I think it was maybe group number 1, but any group would be fine. It mentioned smart chargers and also Wi-Fi. What capabilities would both of those provide?
So the Wi-Fi capabilities what the companies are advertising use usually involves just tracking how fast it's charging my vehicle, and that can usually help with saving energy for shutting off the power when your car is fully charged. But as a city, you could better monitor when your vehicle is being charged and how often they need to be charged, and that could be really useful as you purchase more electric vehicles to know how many chargers you actually need. So that goes with the question you just asked. It would be good to have that capability as electric chargers.
They can also say which chargers are open to be helpful coordinating city vehicles. But it's really, a data thing really for needing better informed decisions to expand.
And a lot of these companies really want to consult firsthand with whoever's buying their chargers. So also depending on what company you choose, they could be more or less helpful with meeting your needs. There's a lot of, since these chargers are so new, the technologies that go with them.
And did I understand correctly that there's a certain obvious cost for the charger, but really the bigger cost may be providing electricity to it, the hard wiring? Is that what you were saying?
It depends on which charger you're using.
Most of the level 2s, you pretty much just need a plug that you have for your local washer and dryer.
Thank you.
Yeah, one big thing that we struggle with is data. We don't have much data. Even outside of Glendale, we don't have data on what are the usages, how long people are charging, and like what does the public want? Like, do they prefer level 3 chargers, and are they willing to pay for it? A lot of these data aren't available. So for the, what they talked about with the Wi-Fi to gather data, that is essential if the city wants to be ahead of the curve, instead of waiting for someone else to deal with, establish it after a few years and they can start, they can actually get data so they can actually do it as they go.
Or do we have any other questions for the room? Okay, great. Well, let's all give them a big round of applause. So, I have just a couple things to announce. First of all, you know, we've got some really great partners around us. We're really excited to announce that we'll be working with 2 community partners next semester. So we have Jay over here from the city of Peoria, who will be our so Jay's going to be our community liaison with the city of Peoria, and we're working on scoping out a number of really fantastic projects right now around smart cities, water, drought contingency planning, things like that. We'll also be working with the town of Clarkdale in northern Arizona. This is a really cool development for us because we're growing our model, which has traditionally just worked with one community at a time. And so we're testing the waters a little bit, and I think it's going to be great. And then also, I mean, just for any other communities in the room, we open an RFP in the fall where, you know, we're planning out far in the future as far as possible. So if you are interested in getting involved with Project Cities, come speak to me. I'd be happy to tell you more. With that, we're going to break for posters. So we have all of the Fleet project posters here in this room. The rest of the project posters are going to be in room 401, which is that room just directly outside of our door, just across the hall. I want to remind everyone about observing hallway etiquette. Remember, this is a working office and there are people who are busy. So we don't want to distract too much. We want them to let us come back, you know. I want to encourage everyone to please visit both rooms. It might be privy to start in the room that has a little less going on, kind of make your way around and then move around. But yeah, and also please help us finish off this food. And that's really all I have. I want to thank everyone one more time from the bottom of my heart for coming out to see these presentations today. It's a real privilege, a real pleasure to be able to work on this this program. We get to see, it really is a win-win-win situation. It's great to see the student learning experience. It's great to see the final products. It's great to see our partners satisfied and happy with what the students come up with. And it's a great win for the faculty and for the administration as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Anne.
I just want to thank our city partners and participants and students who did a fabulous job. Thank you very much for all your hard work. Once the student presentations are finished and available after the end of the semester, we will post them on the Sustainable Cities Network and Project Cities website. So you can take pride in your work and people will have access to them. Please feel free to share your findings and interviews with internships and whatever, because we'd like you to take pride in your work. And also our group of graduate students will be synthesizing all of the reports for student work so that we can summarize it for the city's benefit and they can present it to their council as a result of all your hard work and research. So take pride in the fact that, you know, it'll go to the higher ups and they'll be able to take your suggestions.
And on that, I mean, we heard from the city of Apache Junction. They're already in the middle of advancing 2 of the projects from their first semester with us. So this work really works and it really happens. And it's thanks to you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And with that, let's go ahead and break. And students, head out to your posters. And everyone else, let's have some great conversations about them. Thank you so much.
Really?